Right, good afternoon everybody. This is the last session, so we'll try and make it as enjoyable as possible and then get out of here quickly. Because I know everybody wants to go, and I'm going to try not to talk at you as well, because I'm trying to make it interactive as possible. So when I thought about digital transformation and the security challenge, what I didn't want to do was get into transformation strategies. Okay, you've all got strategies if you're going into the cloud. I don't want to get into technology. I just wanted to talk about some key points that hopefully you can use and take away with you, and you can discuss further when you get back to your relevant organizations. Firstly, show of hands. Who in the room is completely cloud-based? Okay. Who in the room is a hybrid, cloud and data center? Okay, so majority. And is anyone just data center? No. Okay, good. All right, great. All right, so what are the challenges effectively? What do we face? So how do we organize for the cloud? We know it's coming, but what do we do? This is from a security perspective. How can we ramp up fast and operate with the agility we need to do? So this is important. So it's about, do I have the right people? Do I have the right mindset? Do I have the right tooling? What's the organizational structure going to look like? Do I need people centralized? Do I need people decentralized? Do I need developers? Do I need security people? These are the things that generally come out. How do we learn? How do we learn? All right. So best practice. Yeah, sure. But how do I get people that I've got currently in my organization to the right sort of level? How do we confirm those operations assurance? Okay, so these are some of the challenges again. And then improvements. How do we continuously improve? So it's one thing getting to a state into our cloud environments. It's another thing continuously improving it, making it better, innovating, moving forward, coming up with new ideas. This is generally what happens when you look at security, when the business says, yes, we're going into the cloud. I know that's the case of a lot of organizations when they go from a legacy data center-centric type approach into cloud-based. Easier when you're born in the cloud, as those guys over there have been. So who's got this already? So business has said, yeah, we're going to cloud. The gates have opened. So have people put cloud and apps in there already? Show of hands. Yeah, we did, definitely. Gone. Multiple providers? AWS, Azure, Google, whoever. Technology overload. So we saw this, I think it was Paul who mentioned this earlier, about the technology overload. When we talk about technology overload, when you migrate into the cloud, how many of you look at the technologies available to support your data in the cloud or your apps in the cloud from a security standpoint? Do you know roughly how many there are available to you? I mean, there's a plethora.
Not the apps, if you look at the API libraries that are out there, it's astonishing. Tens of thousands.
It is, yeah. It's tens of thousands. It's just a mind-boggling number. And the amount of organizations that are providing cloud security technology, again, is another thing. And then that's coupled with the providers like AWS, who will chuck all of their so-called great enterprise-ready tooling at you and say, this is brilliant, when in actual fact, it's questionable. Agility. So we need to be agile. Security functions need to be agile. And again, we saw that, Paul mentioned this earlier on. You need to be able to stay and run and work with the developers, work with the business, because if we don't, then they're going to continue without us anyway. And we know that. How do we monitor it? So I think visibility is key. So if those of you in the room have got cloud providers already and have moved to the cloud and you've got apps in the cloud, you've got your product in the cloud, show of hands, who's got visibility of that? So that's really where, yeah. So, I mean, generally, you might have some, whether it's a bit of vulnerability, visibility, whether it's an application or product visibility, but the reality behind it is that we don't have that visibility, so it's no surprise that there's going to be some form of breach going on or there's going to be some form of problem. We'll touch on that in a minute. Compliance, obviously, we won't mention those too many. Governance, I'll touch on this a bit later, this is an important one. Dev speed. Business wants to drive forwards really quickly. Generally, security doesn't allow that too much, and again, I think Paul touched on it. We need to make sure that we're able to keep up. We've got to work and we've got to be better at enabling greater development speed. Again, the business wants it now, so they're just not going to stop. So governance. Why is governance important? If we think about the AWS model, why is governance important? Does anyone know? Do you know roughly what the AWS model is, the use of AWS accounts? No? Okay. All right. In terms of cloud technology, we put things up there. We have to generally have an account. We generally pay for what we put into it, right? So governance is really important. Because if I don't know what's in there, how can I manage it? How can I monitor it? How can I enable security within that environment? All right. So if you're able to get in governance early, great. If you can't, then yeah, you're going to have to retrofit it, which is a real nightmare. And many of you who've been through it will probably know that. Ideally, you do want to get in early. Okay. So you have control, and that's a key part. So it will give you that visibility across multiple accounts and multiple layers. And then eventually, you will be able to control most of what happens within your cloud environment. I'll just go through those. Okay. Compliance. So compliance is really another factor here. And there's a whole bunch of, compliance reasons, but the biggest compliance factors that you need to concern yourselves with from a security standpoint are what? Build, config. Would you agree that they are probably important factors that you need to think about when in the cloud?
Well, they're the same things you think about in any configuration.
Exactly.
Dominate whatever IT platform environment.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're thinking about, how do I meet my policy within things like build, configuration, my development standards, getting in there early, again, by design. Think ahead, okay? So if you do have the opportunity to think ahead, it's really, really important that you spend time thinking about the architecture, thinking about how you're going to implement those types of compliance policies, how you're going to be able to audit, get the results out that you need, and obviously keep that control. Automation is definitely everyone's friend, all right? Whether you're able to utilize it, whether you'll be able to implement it, I would strongly recommend that you look at ways in which you can automate your policies within cloud environments. The reason for that is because it will make it much, much easier to manage. So you have a choice where you can basically give all your policy out there and hope and pray, or you can codify it effectively. And by codifying it, it gives you a lot greater control, gives you a lot greater, a greater piece of overall autonomy, if you like, around your cloud infrastructure. So I know Paul did mention this earlier. So DevSec what? It is an old chestnut, but it is actually quite relevant. The idea of shifting left is really key. If we don't shift left, then we're going to be stranded. As security people, we will be stranded, very much so. we see it time and time again in many organisations, and we've also, I think all of us have probably experienced it in terms of security by design was the old adage, all right? Before cloud was born, in a project, you would basically want to make sure that security was in there up front. And we heard about it with the mergers and acquisitions, exactly the same thing. We get in there early, chances are that we're not going to end up paying massive amounts to retrospectively fit security into something which would have cost a lot less at the beginning. So DevSecOps is about trying to merge that together. It doesn't mean that we're going to find developers who suddenly have security knowledge or security people that suddenly have development knowledge. They may be out there, and they probably are, so let's get them anyway. But it means about implementing security people within a development environment and vice versa, so they actually work together and they enable quicker, faster development. And I think that's really key. But again, right at the beginning, some of the things that you can achieve by this is obviously, integrated code scanning, define security test cases as part of your QA. There's automated compliance and monitoring. There's a number of things that this will actually achieve. But it's a mindset, it's a culture change as well. It's a shift, all right? Many organizations or many people within organizations do get it, but actually doing it and achieving it is a different thing. I don't know how we're doing for time. We're going to finish early. So, final slide. So I didn't put too many together. Build the communities. This is really important when you have a cloud-based organization. I don't know if you guys have worked within communities, within cloud-orientated communities. You do, yeah, so you'll get this, okay. So really building communities helps drive development of ideas, helps drive development of better ways of working, particularly with cloud-orientated organizations, okay. So it's really key. People. So making sure you get the right people. If you don't have the right people, then getting people together so they can share their ideas means that they will learn from it, okay? So maybe you've got one person who's really cloud-orientated, really cloud-ready, knows their stuff. Get them into a community of people that may not have such a vast array of talent, and get them talking, okay? And they will drive outcomes. Teams, making sure you've got effective teams, but teams across the organization. It's no good just siloing somebody in security and having a team in security that's going into the cloud. They've got to be able to operate across the business. So that's through IT, whether it's legal, HR, product, customer-facing teams. Get to know the organization, get to grips with it, and get those people involved. It's really important. Obviously, collaborate, and then innovate. And this is where people and teams really are key. So the innovation comes from ideas. So today, we've all been here today. I know that we've not had a great deal of time networking, but I bet if we all got ourselves together, sat around a table and started discussing certain topics, there'd be huge amounts of ideas that would come out, that we could take away, that we could learn, and we could probably utilize and transform into our own organizations. Agility is really key as well. So having an agile community, we heard it earlier. I don't know how many of you all work with an agile framework. So we know about sprints, we know about epics. If you know agile, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So really, really good way of working though, but that has to fit across the board. Again, it's no good just having that in one pocket because that will deliver really great, but then you've got an old clunky IT section over here which is still, turning the cogs. That's never going to work. So prevent the unexpected. So I was talking to some people earlier around threat and how you can move to a more threat predictive environment. Building those communities and working through these types of things, ideally sharing those ideas, putting them into practice, making change, consistently improving things challenging what you do will enable you to know that environment inside out, intimately. Therefore, in theory, depending whether you're using technology or whether it is the human being, we should be able to prevent some of the unexpected things that are going to come up and hit us. And then finally, transparency is really important. I think it's been touched on briefly today in a couple of things. But the essence of transparency has to be really, really driven. It's not about information sharing. We all know that, okay? Information sharing amongst different industries is happening. It does that. But we talk about internalizing transparency. So from a security perspective, many of us in the room, we'll talk about security. We'll talk about what we do to other people within our organization of security and CISO. Do we talk to people in IT about what we do? Do we start to disseminate that information? Do we talk to people at the front end, the customer-facing people, about what security does and how it works and how it operates? And what we're doing to improve their lives and improve the business as well. And I think that's really key. So you have to learn to be transparent about how we can do things. Did we make a mistake? Yes, you're damn right we did. Okay, but what we've done to fix it is this. We've worked with X, we've worked with C. That's what we need to do. Okay, and that is it. I've kept it quite short because we've got 10 minutes, but I know it's the last session of the day. So if anyone's got any questions or any points they'd like to raise, feel free.
Could you expand a little on the concept of automating policy?
Yes.
Good.
See me afterwards.
Okay.
No, so I specifically didn't go into what Pearson are doing today because I just felt it would be quite nice to just try and, there's so much we can talk about in cloud. Pearson, we're really lucky. We are, I think, one of the larger organizations at the forefront of our cloud transformation. One of the things that we've challenged ourselves with and we've now completed is actually putting our policy into code. And we've now uploaded that code into AWS, and that's automating all of our build standards and other bits that we have within our policies for security. Yeah, so it was the right thing to do, and we're very focused on automation and ML. I'm not going to say the other two, but yeah, we're very focused on getting things automated. So we get to a point of, if you don't meet the policy, you're not coming in, right? That's it, simple. If you fall out of policy, then you'll be spun down and back up, remediated, and you'll then meet the policy criteria. And that's what we knew that we had to do something, and that's what we chose to do. So it is something worth doing. Yeah, there's certain technologies that we had to use to make that feasible. But don't get me wrong, there's a lot that can be done with, if you've got good developers, there is a lot that can be done with really good development of scripts and code. Python. Yeah, Python. Yeah, Python experts are really, keep them in your pocket, definitely, if you've got good ones. I could have spoken a lot about different parts of the cloud, the strategies that you might have, the technologies that you might want to use. I really didn't want to touch on that today. I just wanted to give you a few pointers, a few key things that I personally think are important to help you drive and manage a security transformation in cloud terms. So if there's no further questions, we'll wrap it up. Okay, good. Right, thanks for listening. Thank you.